Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make a Celtic knot. So what you're going to do is start off with a piece of graph paper and start making dots with your pen on every other square, every other section where it crosses each other on the graph paper. And once you get the hang of making Celtic knots, you can create your own graph paper for this part. But when you're just learning, it's easier to just start with some graph paper. Once you get that down, you are going to start making lines that don't go directly dot from dot. You want to make it go just inside the dots and create like this weaving pattern. So it kind of looks like it's going over, under, over, under. And it makes sense to put the next curve at A, but you really want it to go to B first and then go back and create the curve for A. Because then once you have the lines down for that B section that I just showed, you have a definite stopping point for the A curve to stop at. So you can see that I'm always going and creating lines that come after the curve that I want to create next, and that is so that I have a clear stopping point. And that's the hardest part, is getting the curves down. So if you just keep in mind that you always want to have as many lines done as possible before you go around the curve, you should be good. And this is just a basic Celtic knot. I don't have any intersections or anything like that. So yeah, there is the finished look. You're just going to color in the spaces. Now I'm going to show you how to do a Celtic knot that has some lines in the middle of the knot. And where you create these lines is, you can see if you look at the top line, it kind of looks like a zigzag if you go from left to right. You always want to make sure that you're creating your lines where the dot is on the indented section of the dots, and that is because otherwise you are going to run into a little bit of a problem. And so I just created a bunch of random lines here, and it's basically doing the same thing, just going back in and creating that over under pattern. I'm using a Sharpie this time. And wherever you run into a line that you created, there's going to be a curve there. You got to make it go around the bend and create a curve. And so it's pretty much the same thing. You're just creating some more boundaries for yourself. So you can see I'm just kind of going around those intersections that I've created, and that's pretty much it for that. So I'm going to speed up the recording just a little bit because it's pretty much the same thing over and over and over again. And then I ran into a little bit of a problem as we went along. Now here I'm trying to figure out where that curve is supposed to go. Sometimes it takes a minute just to wrap your mind around where that string is going. Now, these used to be like super exciting for me. I used to do these about a year and a half ago. I was doing tons and tons of Celtic knots. I would fill up huge pages of these things, and it was a lot of fun. I've got several pictures of Celtic knots on my Instagram, which is always at Tiffany Lovering, and that will you'll see a few more creations of Celtic knots that I've done in the past. And I mean, once you figure out how to create a Celtic knot, I mean, you can pretty much put as many different boundaries and things as you want. So I'm just speeding things up here real quick. And here's where I ran into the problem. You can see that that little section there is where I created that boundary is a little skinny, and I kind of made a mistake here. You can see that I'm trying to figure out where this curve is supposed to go. And when I finally put the lines down, I actually did make a mistake. But I just wanted to show you that sometimes, it takes quite a bit of thinking power to figure out where the curve is supposed to go and where they're supposed to overlap. Now, when you take a look at that, how I finished it, it really should have overlapped differently, but it still looked okay, so I just continued on with the drawing instead of starting over, especially for a tutorial purpose. And then I'm just finishing off the Celtic knot in the same way. Overall, this little section here probably took me about 20 minutes. This whole Celtic knot took about 20 minutes. And then my favorite part is next, which is coloring. And I'm just taking my Sharpie and choosing a random part within the knot and following the line. And this is my favorite part because I don't always know how many colors are going to be involved in coloring that Celtic knot. So I follow the lines, and if it meets, then I color it in, like I did with that pink there. It met quite early, so I colored that part in and chose a different color to continue on. I really thought that this one was going to have more sections, but it looks like it consists of just 2 ropes, so I just had to color it in with purple and pink. Now, if I were trying to make this look super good, I would probably go over this a couple of times with my Sharpie to get rid of that that line that I drew on to see where the rope was going. And that's about it for Celtic knots. If you have any questions, let me know. But once I get done coloring this, I'm going to show you a new pattern that I've created. Alright, so this is a new pattern that I created. I call diamond stairs. You're going to start off with a few diamonds that are placed on top of each other with evenly spaced apart. And then you're going to start creating kind of like this rope winding around those diamonds. And I like to practice this on a special type of graph paper, and I'll leave a link below if you'd like to practice with that graph paper. It just makes it easier so that when you start using it for real tangles that you have an idea of where you should go right away. And then once you have created a line of those diamonds, you're going to move over a little bit about the width of your rope that you've been using and create another set of diamonds with that rope going around it. And my final one is just a single diamond, so it's just a little diamond with a big diamond around it. And then you're going to connect them all. So you're taking the points of the ends of the diamond creation there and just bringing a line to connect it, and then connecting at all of the corners there. And then for that end one, to make that look more like a stair, I created that outline just like I would if it were bigger, and I'm just putting more lines there, and that's the basic idea of the pattern. Now I'm just going to color it in and shade it in. So I'm coloring in all of the teeny tiny diamonds. And the graph paper I use is online. You create it yourself. It's a website that I've used for a really long time now. But there's all kinds of graph paper that you can print off there. So I'll leave a link and you can check it out, and I'll leave a link directly to the type of graph paper that I use for this design. And I like to use graph paper when I'm creating a new pattern and things, and it just helps me out if I'm going to create a grid line pattern or something like that. Once I've colored in the sections that I want to color in, I go back in with my shading pencil, and I'm going to shade on the edge of every place where it intersects within the diamond creation there. And that's just going to give it a little bit more depth and make it look a little bit more like it's going, over under. And then I will go back and in the step part, like I like to call it, of the pattern, I shade just a little bit on the top edge there, and that will be it for the diamond stairs. So it's a pretty easy pattern once you figure it out, and it's pretty effective looking. I really like it a lot. And then once you get it down and everything, you can start practicing with different sizes and things like that. But it's easier to start larger with that graph paper. So that is it for today, just a couple of little tutorials, and I'll see you again soon for another drawing video.